There's a video called Plandemic, which has been banned from most of the larger social media platforms. And I say video rather than documentary because documentaries rely on facts rather than wild speculation. I desperately wanted to watch Plandemic. The problem was that every time a friend sent me a link, by the time I clicked it, within a few minutes the site had been shut down. But finally I found a website where I could watch the entire film. NewYorkCityGuns.com! The site is run by a man who describes himself as an outspoken gun rights activist. So this is a conspiracy theory video on a website run by a gun nut. Whatever could go wrong? The film consists almost entirely of an irritating hipster interviewing Dr. Judy Mikovits. Sorry, disgraced Dr. Judy Mikovits. Dr. Judy has a long history of publishing unreliable medical evidence, but a few years ago she was arrested for stealing research, sued by her former employer and sent to prison. She claims, however, that she was framed and the evidence was planted at her house. And what evidence does she have to back these claims up? Fuck all, and more importantly, she's never challenged on it. And that's pretty much the theme of the whole film. A disgraced doctor making wild speculations and an interviewer who takes every fucking word she says as gospel. And we, the viewer, are meant to do the same. Call me a cynic, but when someone begins a sentence with, "since I got out of jail," I'm going to be somewhat sceptical with what comes out of their mouth. So, what are some of the claims made in Plandemic? Coronavirus was created in a lab in a joint operation between the Chinese and the American Secret Services. So if that's the case, why was it created? It's a global scam, engineered to make money for Big Pharma. In this case, pharma is short for pharmaceuticals, not a bloke who rides around on a tractor and fucks sheep. It's at this point that Plandemic really gets into its stride. No claim is too ridiculous and no evidence is ever provided. Dr. Judy claims that COVID-19 must have been made in a lab, because for the SARS virus to mutate into COVID-19 would have taken at least 800 years. Has she got research to back this up? No. She also claims Ebola was harmless until it was deliberately weaponised, that the US government is withholding a cure for autism, there is no such thing as an effective vaccine, and covering your face is bad for your health. She claims that wearing a face mask means that your body will activate the latent coronaviruses we all have living inside our systems. So wearing a face mask is what actually makes you sick. I'm going to call bullshit on that. For 14 years, my only method of transport was a motorcycle, meaning I was wearing a crash helmet, thus covering my face every day. And in my current job, I regularly wear a respirator. So if covering your face makes you ill, I should have been dead fucking years ago. However, the doctor does make an interesting point. That being that in the USA, if a person is admitted to hospital with COVID-19, the hospital is then paid an extra $13,000. And if that person goes on a respirator, the hospital's paid an extra $39,000. But even if that's the case, the people who are going to be worst hit by it are the insurance companies. And no one gives a flying fuck about them. Then, in a spectacular return to form, Dr. Judy claims people aren't dying of COVID-19, they're being killed by the respirators. So that was Plandemic. Then this morning I was watching another conspiracy video, pretending to be a documentary, with the sensible title, "Inside China's Death Labs!" The presenter of this video claimed to have masses of evidence proving that COVID-19 was engineered in a lab in Wuhan. But once again, he couldn't say where the evidence had come from. So that's just speculation. And one of the contributors to this video was Dr. Judy Mikovits. Like a washed up old whore, it appears she doesn't care whose cock she sucks as long as she's getting paid for it. I also watched a video by a YouTuber called Anthony Steele, who claims that 5G is a Nazi war weapon. Because you can't discuss coronavirus conspiracies without throwing 5G in there. In his video, he says he knows that 5G is a Nazi radiation weapon that's being installed in the UK and he can prove it. He then fails to provide any evidence, but he does talk a lot about Operation Paperclip. Operation Paperclip had nothing to do with radiation weapons. It was carried out at the end of the Second World War when the Americans took prominent Nazi scientists back to the States, and the Russians did the same thing. In fact, the entire space race between Russia and the USA was largely fought by former Nazis who in 1945 were deemed too intelligent to shoot. So why does any of this matter? Well, it's because conspiracy theorists are fearmongers, and the one thing we don't need at the minute is people being any more frightened than they need to be. That's why Plandemic was taken down from YouTube. It's false information likely to cause public panic. I've said it many times before, all conspiracy theorists are twats. There's the fire brigade after some dickheads deliberately started a fire.